If you enjoy my videos, please check out my website at creationsciencefiction.com, where you'll find articles on creationism, science, and my blog. If you really enjoy what I'm doing, please consider becoming a contributor at the link in the video description.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Good evening, folks. Ken Hovind here and the crew at Dinosaur Adventureland in Lenox, Alabama. Straight north of Pensacola, 70 miles. It is June the 5th, 2019. And happy birthday to my son, Eric. Son, God bless you. I want God to bless your ministry in a great way. There's going to be all kinds of rumors going around. To quell any rumors coming out, the trustees of the original trust that Eric was entrusted with are indeed taking action to try to get the property back. It'll all be posted in a link on down below here. And everything's above board and there's nothing to hide. So we love you, son. We want you to come bring the family up to Dinosaur Adventureland. Come visit. Let's sing our happy birthday song to Eric. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is your birthday song. It isn't very long. Happy birthday, son. Bring the grandkids up here. You're 70 miles away. It's been 3 years. Time you come up and see Grandpa.
All right, so I'm here today with Dee Holmes, who also lives in Mesa, Arizona, not too far from me. And she's been following this Kent Hovind saga for a while, and his son, Eric. I just can't believe he sat there and sang his son happy birthday and then says, oh, by the way, we're taking action to take the property back. So he's basically looking to, it looks almost like he's looking to evict his ex-wife and his son and their family for the property.
Well, actually, I took a look and he's only asking for 3 pieces of property back. I believe these pieces of property were used as they were rented out to missionaries when they actually had the Dinosaur Adventureland in Pensacola. The houses are kind of ratty, but he is not going after Joe's house.
Oh,
so,
okay.
So we can definitely say that. But what is making me wonder is if Eric maybe put those 3 pieces of property up for sale. I wasn't able to find anything as to whether they were up for sale, though they didn't seem to be. But I'm just wondering because they're out there. That's
so
all.
It's probably more about the money than it is actually taking back the property for a ministry or anything then.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
I mean, Kent's obviously not in Pensacola anymore. He's not, he doesn't have access to the property that made up Dinosaur Adventureland. Some of it has been, Eric has most of it. I think one parcel was sold to a guy related to Pensacola Christian, but it's hard to say what's going on there. I mean, if I was a betting person, I would say that Eric was thinking about putting those properties up for sale. Kent got wind of it, and he started making noises.
What can you tell us about this sovereign citizen stuff that he seems to be involved in? I mean, I look at Kent provided a link. He provided a link at his video, and when you go to that link, I don't remember what the website was called, but I looked at the website and it's protected by, one of those privacy intermediary things. So you can't see who owns the website. Oh, uberxo.com. So, it's one of those privacy protected websites, but, it says right in there that there is no evidence that CSE, Creation Science Evangelism, Kent's corporation, I guess it is, all their business is conducted off land owned by the United States of America. I mean, this sounds like a bunch of that sovereign citizen junk.
It is. And let me just give you some background. Kent has been involved in sovereign citizen nuttery, that's the only thing I can call it, since the 1990s. At one point in 1998, he and Joe tried to give up their citizenship so that they could avoid taxes. They filed a document with Escambia County, which is where Pensacola is located. I've got a copy of that document somewhere. What do they call those? Notary public on that was somebody we know, Ernie Land.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And
So
Ernie's still really involved with Kent.
So this has been a long time deal. He did this. I'm not sure if the sovereign citizen junk preceded the tax evasion or if the tax evasion preceded the sovereign citizen junk, but it's all part of this. Right now, it looks like though it's all sovereign citizen and no tax evasion.
Is Kent paying property taxes, do you know, right now on the land that he owns at Dinosaur Adventureland?
I don't know, and the reason I don't know is because I don't know what kind of exemption the land is under. It could be that since it's a ministry, a lot of jurisdictions don't charge property tax.
Because
So
I had heard that, I'm not sure, but I mean, he keeps complaining about his tax dollars going to Teach Evolution, where I can't find where he's paying any tax dollars that would go to support that anywhere. Yeah.
no, in fact, that's been his whole point all these decades is that he claims that he pays all taxes that he's supposed to pay, but then he goes around and tries to evade paying taxes. So, I mean, when he lived in Pensacola, at the same time he was having his issue with the IRS for his first trial on structuring and not paying Social Security tax. See that again. He was duking it out with the county over taxes due on what the Dinosaur Adventureland property. And after he went through that, he finally ended up just paying. I mean, he probably spent thousands of dollars when he owed less than $1,000 on all the pieces of property. It was just dumber than a box of rocks. The same deal here. Kent talks about a trust here. I would point out that there has never been a trust, okay? When the land in question was, the government successfully seized that land after Kent's first trial in 2006, where he was found guilty of obstructing the IRS and failing to pay Social Security taxes for his employees. There was a bunch of paperwork filed in 2009 and a hearing held where Kent tried to say, well, these were owned by a trust. There was never any documents presented that indicated there was a trust. No documents whatsoever. Eric, interestingly enough, was involved in this because the government wanted his house because they thought that the transaction between him and Kent to get his house wasn't all on the up and up. But compared to everything else, it was so very legal. I mean, Eric, we might say that the deal might have not been arm's length, but as far as like the legality of it, it's fine. So
now it's important to note that these things that Kent said he's serving Eric with, these legal documents aren't really legal documents, correct? And this is not an actual court of law.
That is correct. This is sovereign citizens. They're all over the map on various things. Paul Hansen here seems to be wanting to convene a court of common law, God only knows where, to basically adjudicate that, Eric needs to turn this land over to his father. Well, as you mentioned, these are not legal documents. This is just Paul Hansen LARPing that he's a lawyer and that there's a court and all this. It's not. There's no reality to it. There's nothing to it. When I first found out about this yesterday, my first thought was, oh, wow, he's actually going to try going to court, a real honest to God, and try to, do a quick claim deed or something like that. Oh, no, nothing anywhere near legal like that, which he would have gotten tossed out of court anyway, because Eric bought that property as GodQuest from the U.S. government. And to say that the U.S. government didn't have good title, oh, good luck on that. That is so not going to work.
Right. Well, all Eric has to do at this point basically is completely ignore everything that Kent's paid for to send him.
Yeah, I mean, if Eric's been round filing it, that's pretty much what I would have done with it too, because there's no legality to it. It's just LARPing. It's just fantasy. It's just games. I just wonder how much money Kent has paid for this.
Who knows? But it's so interesting, or really kind of sad, that at the end, he turns and says, "Oh, and I haven't seen the grandkids in 3 years, and you're only 70 miles away. Please bring them." It's like, why the heck would anyone want to bring the grandchildren around you while you're trying to do this? I mean,
well,
unbelievable.
Considering, that Kent basically, sent Joe to jail. Had they cooperated with the IRS, Joe probably would have gotten a misdemeanor charge. She never would have gone to jail. Instead,
she spent a year in prison, correct?
She spent a year in prison in a halfway house. And that, for a woman, genteel Baptist woman whose job was giving piano lessons, to go to a federal penitentiary for women, I can't even imagine it. I mean, I would have an extremely hard time with it. I'd probably want to slit my wrists. I can't even imagine how Joe would have reacted to it.
Well, she reacted by divorcing him as soon as he got out of prison. That was it.
Well, I think there may have been more to it than that Kent probably tried to enforce his husbandly rights on her immediately. And she was like, "Oh man, not letting you into my bed anytime soon. You can sleep in that bedroom." And, she may have been willing to talk about it, but, Kent wanting immediately to go back to the way it was. No, it wasn't going to happen. He'd been gone for 8 years. Joe had made a life for herself, and she wasn't having any of his "I'm coming in and I'm taking over" nonsense. Right. Neither was Eric, for that matter.
No, they made it pretty clear right from the beginning. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of sad and in a way pathetic that Kent, after all these years and after all the money spent, because he didn't just give money to Paul Hansen. He gave lots of money to Glenn Stoll out of Washington State, to, for the first so-called, well, actually, let me rephrase that, for the second so-called trust that he was running, for which there was no paperwork, and this was all part of tax evasion. And then, before that, there was that Moynihan guy. They were, they put the Dinosaur Adventureland under his church, quote unquote, and all of this costs money. I mean, Kent paid these people.
And a lot of this is just done not even in legal courts. It's just some sovereign citizen stuff.
None of it was done in court. The only time that there was any legal paperwork involved was when Kent bought the property from the previous owners, and those documents were filed with the county. Anything after that, he claims that there was a trust. There's no documents saying that the property was deeded to a trust. I mean, the house that I'm sitting in is in a trust, right? But my parents had to sign documents. They're on file. I can look them up in Maricopa County, and I have actually. But they had to sign papers saying that they were moving the property to a trust. And Kent never did that on any of the Dinosaur Adventureland properties. He paid this bozo, Glenn Stoll, also not an attorney, who thought, they thought that they could just sort of evade all sorts of government stuff. And it just is not true. What's truly remarkable about Kent is how he clings to these delusions after, 8+ years in prison.
Well, it's remarkable that people continue to support him and send him money when he just burns through a lot of it, filing false documents in phony courts. I mean, it's just bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, these courts don't exist. I mean, you mentioned that website. There was something there. about how they were going to have a court, and if you wanted to be a judge or a juror on the court, you could send an email to this address on Gmail, and it's like, what? That is not how things work. I mean, I find it amusing because I like to watch sovereign citizens do stupid things.
Well, there's some that have gotten in big trouble in Colorado over the last year or two, too, right?
Right. Yeah. Bruce Doucette.
If you send threatening letters to people and threaten them with a phony court, you can get in big trouble.
Right. And, Bruce Doucette is serving something like 35 years. His co-conspirators the same. I think they also filed liens against cops and government officials, and Colorado wasn't having any of that, and they just came to, it was just hammered down on these people, and it was good because I actually am a little concerned that Kent might try to file a mechanics lien or a lease pendants on those 3 pieces of property. But considering that he's going the Paul Hansen route, which is, LARPing courts, I'm thinking it's less likely to happen. But it's still a possibility that Kent could truly mess things up by filing, a lien against the 3 pieces of property. It's just, the whole thing is just stupid. I mean, really, Kent needs to get on with his life. Pensacola, Dinosaur Adventureland's property there. That's all. It's all over, Kent. Just let it go. I mean, I'm no fan of Eric's, but I think Eric has been more than patient with his father. I completely understand why he doesn't bring the kids to see him, because his father has treated Eric's mother, all of them, very badly. Kent just assumed he was going to come back in and he was going to take everything over. Eric, on the other hand, decided he was going to do everything legally, set up GodQuest legally. He's done everything legally. He files the right paperwork. I mean, I disagree with what he's teaching, but I cannot say that he is not doing it on an above board basis. He's checking the right boxes.
Right. Kent has made the comment that everything he's doing with this is above board, or he made that in the comment to Eric in his beginning of his video, and it's just not true. It's not even true at all. I mean,
yeah, how can it be above board when it's filed in, quote, filed, unquote, in a LARP court? I mean,
right. It's not even filed with the government anywhere. So
yeah, well, see, Kent claims to be law abiding, but he's ultimately lawless. He doesn't want to submit to any authority that he can't control. I mean, and he had a good thing going before he was arrested and sent to prison in 2006. I mean, he had his wife under his thumb. He had his sons under his thumb. Him going off to prison was probably, it's terrible for Joe in the sense that she had to go to prison. I still think, if I was Joe, I'd slug him, but that's just me. I just think that him being sent to prison was probably the best thing to happen to that family, because it got them out from underneath his shadow. So just my personal opinion. People can disagree, but that's just my thing. I am also going to say that I seriously doubt that Kent and Ernie and the rest of the so-called trustees of the new Dinosaur Adventureland, or whatever they're calling themselves, are doing things above board. I doubt it completely.
Well, I know there's been some hints of that with his second wife leaving him, and some comments that she mentioned too, but we don't, I don't want to really get into that today, but
no, that's more loose talk. I just,
right.
Based on Kent's long history of not cooperating with authorities and trying to do things in an underhanded way, I'll just quote Bible at him. Can the leopard change his spots?
All right. Well, thanks for joining me today, Dee Holmes. It's been great. Like I said, you live near me. We've never met in person. We got to do that one of these days.
You know, someday I'm going to make it out to one of your DJing things.
Right. Yeah. One of the events. That would be awesome. So.
Happy birthday, son. Bring the grandkids up here. You're 70 miles away. It's been 3 years. Time you come up and see Grandpa.